The radio crackled to life at 3 in the morning, spitting static and fragments of late-night talk shows into my cluttered workshop. I'd been tinkering with the damn thing for hours, anything to avoid going upstairs where my wife Valerie lay sleeping in our king-sized bed, probably dreaming about quarterly projections and hostile takeovers. Ben Travers, patent engineer extraordinaire, reduced to fixing broken electronics in his garage like some suburban hermit. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days creating innovations that made other people rich, and my nights alone with a soldering iron and bitter coffee that could strip paint. Thunder rolled across Lake Sebago, rattling the windows of our glass-walled mansion. Maine storms had a way of making everything feel apocalyptic, even mundane marital problems. I always thought if Valerie ever cheated on me, it would be with a spreadsheet or maybe a PowerPoint presentation. Turns out I was half right. The voices drifted down from upstairs, Val's sharp whisper cutting through the storm noise. She was on the phone again, third time this week. I'd started counting. The timing has to be perfect, Craig. We can't afford any mistakes with the patent situation. Craig, her chief operating officer, the fitness junkie with perfect teeth and a handshake that lingered too long at company parties. I'd always suspected he was gunning for more than just a corner office. I crept to the bottom of the stairs, my bare feet silent on the hardwood. 20 years of marriage had taught me how to move through this house like a ghost. Ben doesn't suspect anything, she continued. He's too buried in his workshop to notice what's happening in the real world. My hand tightened around the radio's antenna. The real world, as if inventing the core technology that built her entire company wasn't real enough. Just make sure the celebration dinner is booked for Friday. After we announce the merger, we can finally stop pretending. Merger? What merger? I was supposedly her technical partner, the brains behind Travers Tech Solutions. Apparently, I was also the last to know we were selling. I slipped back to my workshop and fired up my laptop. Val's calendar was synced to our home network, a security flaw I'd been meaning to fix for months. Tonight, I was grateful for my own procrastination. There it was. Victory celebration. Craig, Lakeside Inn, Suite 412. Nag. She'd already packed. Her overnight bag sat by the garage door, right where she always left it for business trips. Except this wasn't business, and she sure as hell wasn't traveling alone. My hands shook as I scrolled through more entries. Patent transfer meeting, board presentation, final. Lawyer consultation, dissolution. Dissolution. She wasn't just cheating, she was planning to dissolve our marriage and steal my life's work in one perfectly orchestrated corporate coup. I found her gym bag in the mudroom, tucked behind winter coats that smelled like mothballs and broken promises. The burner phone was hidden in a zippered pocket, still warm from recent use. The message thread with Craig made my stomach turn. Photos of them in my workshop, in my favorite leather chair, the one I'd inherited from my father. Her manicured hands all over equipment I'd built with my own calloused fingers. Can't wait to have you all to myself, read the latest message. Ben's patent assignment papers are ready. Once he signs, we can announce everything. Patent assignment papers. The technology that powered her entire company, the revolutionary data compression algorithm that made real-time holographic displays possible, was still registered in my name. I developed it in this very garage, working 18-hour days while she climbed the corporate ladder. She needed my signature to complete the sale. Without it, her merger was worthless paper. I scrolled through more messages, each one a knife twist. Craig's promises to take care of the Ben problem. Val's assurances that I was too trusting to cause trouble. That was the moment my marriage flatlined, and I started CPR on my own life. I set the phone back exactly where I'd found it and returned to my workshop. The radio was working perfectly now, picking up clear signals from 3 states away. Sometimes all it takes is the right touch to fix what's broken. Sometimes it takes a sledgehammer. The next morning, I made coffee and scrambled eggs like nothing had changed. Valerie breezed through the kitchen in her power suit, checking messages on her primary phone while the burner burned a hole in her purse. Working late tonight, she said without looking up. Board meeting prep. Of course. I handed her a travel mug. Anything I should know about? Company business affects me too. She paused, and for a split second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Fear? Then her corporate mask slipped back into place. Just routine stuff. Nothing that concerns the technical side. Nothing that concerns me. After 20 years of marriage and 10 years of partnership, I'd been downgraded to technical support. I'll probably stay at Lisa's tonight, she added. You know how these sessions run long. Lisa Fenn, her best friend and head of human resources, master of office gossip and corporate backstabbing. If Val was staying anywhere, it wasn't Lisa's couch. After she left, I called in sick to my consulting job and drove to Galloway's pub on the outskirts of town. Mike Galloway had owned the place for 15 years, ever since he retired from the state police. If you wanted to know what was really happening in our corner of Maine, Mike's bar was intelligence headquarters. Ben Travers. Mike looked up from polishing glasses. Little early for you, isn't it? Coffee's fine. I slid onto a bar stool. Need some advice from someone who understands investigations. Mike's eyes sharpened. 20 years as a cop had given him radar for domestic troubles. What kind of advice? The kind where a man discovers his wife is planning to screw him out of everything he's worked for. Mike poured himself a whiskey, even though it was barely 10 a.m. That kind of advice. What do you need to know? How to gather evidence without breaking any laws. How to protect assets. How to make sure the truth comes out before it's too late. Mike leaned against the bar. You got proof of what she's doing? I pulled out my phone and showed him screenshots I'd taken of Val's messages. Mike whistled low. Craig DaCosta. I know that guy. Comes in here sometimes with his corporate buddies. Talks too loud, tips too little, treats the waitresses like servants. What else do you know about him? He's got gambling debts, poker games in Portland, sports betting, probably other stuff. Word is he's been skimming from company accounts to cover his losses. This was news. How do you know that? His bookie drinks here, guy named Tommy Russo, says Craig's into him for 50 grand, keeps promising a big score that'll cover everything. A big score, like a company merger that would net him millions in stock options. I need to see my lawyer, I said, and I need to do it without Val finding out. Ryder Knox, Mike said immediately. Best patent attorney in the state. Handles a lot of tech stuff. Keeps his mouth shut. Loves sticking it to corporate types who think they're untouchable. I spent the afternoon in Ryder's office, a cluttered space above a sandwich shop in downtown Portland. Ryder Knox looked like a scarecrow in an expensive suit, all sharp angles and nervous energy. But his reputation was solid gold. Interesting situation, he said after I'd explained everything. Your wife needs your signature to transfer the patent, but she's planning to divorce you and claim the technology as company property. Can she do that? Not legally. The patent is registered in your name, developed before the company was incorporated. It's your intellectual property, regardless of marriage or business partnership. Relief flooded through me. So I can stop the sale? Better than that. Ryder's grin was predatory. You can sell it yourself, to anyone you want, even to her competitors, especially to her competitors. We spent 2 hours going through options. Holographic Solutions Inc., Val's biggest rival, had been trying to develop similar technology for years. They'd pay top dollar for a working algorithm, especially if it came with the rights to shut down their competition. This will destroy her company, Ryder warned. Are you prepared for that level of nuclear warfare? I thought about the photos on her burner phone, about 20 years of marriage reduced to the Ben problem, about Craig's hands on my father's chair. I wasn't about to let her win. Not now, not ever. By 6 p.m., I was parked outside the Lakeside Inn, watching Val's BMW pull into the lot. Craig's Porsche was already there, gleaming under the security lights like a chrome middle finger. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to see the celebration dinner or witness their victory lap. I had work to do. Back home, I spent the evening in my workshop, but not on inventions. I was planning something much more satisfying than patent applications. Val's company used a security system I designed 3 years ago. Every camera, every access card, every digital lock. I knew the system inside and out because I'd built it from the ground up. More importantly, I knew its weaknesses. At midnight, I drove to the Travers Tech building. My access card still worked, another oversight in Val's master plan. The night security guard was asleep at his desk, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and crossword puzzles. I made my way to the server room, where the company's main prototypes were stored. The holographic display unit that would be demonstrated to potential buyers sat in a climate-controlled case, looking like something from a science fiction movie. I didn't steal it. That would be too obvious, too criminal. Instead, I swapped out 3 critical components with identical-looking parts that would fail spectacularly, during any demonstration. The replacements came from my personal workshop, early prototypes that looked perfect but couldn't handle the processing load of a full presentation. Then I accessed the security system and made some subtle adjustments. Nothing that would trigger alarms or alert the IT department. Just small changes that would redirect certain camera feeds and modify some access logs. If Craig was skimming money, there would be evidence on his work computer. And if that evidence happened to be discovered during a routine security audit, well, that was just good corporate governance. I was back home by 2 a.m., sitting in my workshop with a cup of coffee and a satisfied smile. Phase 1 was complete. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryder. Deal closed. HSI acquired patent rights for $12 million. Transfer complete. Your wife's about to have a very bad morning. I typed back. Oh, I'll make sure she has a worse afternoon. Audition. The call came at 7:30 a.m. while I was making pancakes and humming along to the radio. Val's ringtone. Money, That's What I Want, by Barrett Strong, which had seemed funny when we were young and broke. Ben. Her voice was shrill, barely controlled. We need to talk, now. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. How was your night at Lisa's? Silence. Then, I'm coming home. Don't go anywhere. She burst through the front door 20 minutes later, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her perfect hair disheveled and her makeup smeared. Craig skulked behind her like a whipped dog. What did you do? She demanded. I flipped a pancake, keeping my movements casual. Made breakfast. Want some? Craig, you hungry? You look a little pale. The patent, Ben. Holographic Solutions called this morning. They claim they own our core technology. Huh, that's weird. I turned to face them, spatula in hand. How could they own technology that I invented? Val's face went white. You didn't. I did. Sold it yesterday for $12 million. Turns out, when you develop something in your own workshop, using your own equipment, on your own time, you actually own it. Crazy concept, right? Craig stepped forward, his gym-pumped chest puffed out like an angry rooster. You can't do this. That technology belongs to the company. Which company? The one that was planning to dissolve and reform without me? The one where I'm apparently just a technical consultant who doesn't need to know about mergers? I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshots of their messages. Val's face crumpled. You went through my private communications? Your burner phone was in your gym bag, right next to the overnight bag you packed for your business trip with Craig here. The kitchen fell silent except for the sizzle of pancakes on the griddle. Craig's tough guy facade melted under the weight of being caught red-handed. Ben, we can work this out, Val said, switching to her negotiation voice. Whatever HSI paid you, we can match it. We can restructure the partnership, give you more control. More control of what? A company that's about to lose its primary revenue stream? Without that patent, Travers Tech is just another failing startup with expensive office furniture. My phone rang. Ryder knocks. Ben, you need to see the news. Turn on Channel 6. I grabbed the remote and flicked to the local business report. The anchor was reading from a teleprompter with barely concealed glee. In a shocking development, Holographic Solutions Inc. has acquired key patents from Travers Tech Solutions, effectively killing the smaller company's planned merger with West Coast investors. Sources say the patent sale was conducted without the knowledge of Travers Tech's board of directors, leaving the company's future in serious doubt. The camera cut to a reporter, standing outside Val's office building. We've attempted to reach Travers Tech CEO Valerie Travers for comment, but calls have not been returned. The company's stock price has fallen 60% in pre-market trading. I turned off the TV. Val was staring at the blank screen like it might offer some escape route. 60%, I said. That's got to hurt. Craig's phone started buzzing. Then Val's, then the landline. The vultures were circling, and everyone wanted a piece of the story. I have to get to the office, Val muttered. Damage control. The board will want answers. Good luck with that. I started plating pancakes. Oh, and Craig, you might want to check your work computer. I heard there's going to be a security audit today. His face went gray. What are you talking about? Nothing specific, just a feeling I have about corporate accountability. They left in a flurry of panic and recriminations. I finished my breakfast in peace, then drove to Galloway's pub to watch the fireworks. The bar was buzzing with gossip by noon. Word traveled fast in small towns, especially when it involved the spectacular downfall of people who'd gotten too big for their britches. Ben. Mike waved me over to a table where three locals were nursing beers and dissecting the morning's drama. Heard you stuck it to your wife's company. That true? Just protected my intellectual property, I said modestly. Can't let people steal what doesn't belong to them. Heard Craig DaCosta got arrested, said Jimmy Morse, who worked maintenance at the tech building. FBI showed up with a warrant, marched him out in handcuffs. This was better than I'd hoped. Arrested for what? Embezzlement. Been skimming money for months, hiding it in fake vendor accounts. Probably would have gotten away with it if the company hadn't imploded. Mike slid a beer across the table. Funny how these things work out. Company goes under. Suddenly everyone starts looking at the books real close. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Charity gala tonight. Lakeside Country Club. Val's trying to save face with the donors. Thought you should know. T. T had to be Tasha, Val's younger sister. The Instagram influencer with a taste for drama and a soft spot for underdogs. We'd always gotten along better than Val appreciated. I texted back. Thanks for the heads up. Might be interesting. The Lakeside Country Club's annual charity gala was Maine's version of high society. Local business owners, politicians, and anyone else with money to burn on overpriced chicken dinners and tax-deductible donations. I hadn't planned to attend, but watching Val try to salvage her reputation in front of 300 witnesses seemed too good to miss. I dusted off my best suit and arrived fashionably late. The ballroom was packed with the usual suspects, all trying to pretend they hadn't spent the day gossiping about the Travers tech scandal. Val stood near the silent auction tables, surrounded by a shrinking circle of supporters. Her smile looked painted on, and her laugh had a desperate edge that carried across the room. I grabbed a drink from the bar and made my way through the crowd, accepting handshakes and sympathetic pats on the back from people who'd heard various versions of the story. Ben Travers! Senator Patricia Mills grabbed my arm. I heard about your troubles. Such a shame when business partnerships go sour. Not a shame at all, Senator. Sometimes you have to cut out the cancer to save the patient. Her eyebrows shot up. Politicians loved a good metaphor, especially when it came with insider gossip. I worked the room for an hour, dropping hints and letting people draw their own conclusions. By the time I approached Val's group, the narrative was already shifting in my favor. Valerie. I nodded politely. Surprised to see you here. Thought you'd be busy with damage control. Her smile could have frozen Lake Sebago. Ben, how nice of you to come. I wasn't sure you'd show your face after what you did to the company. What I did, I protected my own intellectual property. If that damaged the company, maybe the company was built on a shaky foundation. The donors around us shifted uncomfortably. Public confrontations made wealthy people nervous. Ladies and gentlemen, I continued, raising my voice just enough to carry to nearby tables. I'd like to congratulate my wife on her innovative approach to business partnerships. It takes real vision to plan a merger, a divorce, and a patent theft all at the same time. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Val's face went scarlet. You're drunk, she hissed. Stone sober. Unlike some people's decision-making process, I pulled out my phone and held it up so the screen was visible to everyone nearby. The photos from her burner phone were still there, Craig's hands on my equipment, Val's satisfied smile as they celebrated in my workshop. Of course, when you're planning to dissolve a marriage and steal someone's life work, you probably shouldn't document it quite so thoroughly. The silence was deafening. 300 people holding their breath, waiting to see how this would play out. Val tried to grab the phone, but I stepped back smoothly. Careful, Valerie. Wouldn't want to cause a scene. Senator Mills cleared her throat. Perhaps we should let the Travers family work this out privately. Oh, we're well past privacy, I said. When someone tries to destroy your life in public, you defend yourself in public. I pocketed the phone and straightened my tie. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. And Valerie, good luck with the board meeting tomorrow. I hear they have some tough questions about leadership and judgment. I walked away to scattered applause, leaving Val standing in the wreckage of her social standing. Craig's face, pale under the parking lot lights, was worth every second of the last 12 years. The next morning brought a pounding on my front door at 6 a.m. I opened it to find Val standing on the porch in yesterday's gala dress, mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. They voted me out, she said without preamble. The board called an emergency meeting, unanimous decision. I stepped aside to let her in. Even in the middle of a war, I wasn't completely heartless. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Watching someone's life implode, even someone who deserved it, wasn't as satisfying as I'd expected. No, you're not. She collapsed onto the living room couch. You planned this whole thing. The patent sale, Craig's arrest, the public humiliation. You orchestrated everything. I protected myself. There's a difference. Is there? She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. You could have just confronted me. We could have worked something out. Like the something you were working out with Craig? The plan to divorce me and steal my technology? It wasn't supposed to be like this. The merger would have made us all rich. You would have been fine. Fine? I sat down across from her. Val, you were planning to destroy my life and leave me with nothing. How exactly would I have been fine? She didn't have an answer for that. My phone rang. Tasha's name appeared on the screen. Ben? Thank God. Is Val with you? Yeah, she's here. Don't let her leave. There's something she needs to know about Craig. I put the phone on speaker. Go ahead, Tasha. Craig's been cheating on you, Val, with Lisa. I saw them together at the Riverside Motel 3 days ago. I took pictures because I thought you should know, but then everything exploded and I didn't know how to tell you. Val's face went white. That's impossible. Lisa's my best friend. Your best friend has been sleeping with your boyfriend while helping him steal from your company. I'm texting you the photos now. Val's phone chimed. She stared at the screen, and I watched 20 years of trust and friendship crumble in real time. They were both using me, she whispered. Looks that way, I said gently. Lisa knew everything, the merger plans, the patent situation, the divorce papers. She was helping Craig from the beginning. The pieces were falling into place. Lisa had access to all the company's HR records, including my original employment contract and intellectual property agreements. She would have known exactly what Craig needed to make his plan work. There's more, Tasha continued over the phone. I did some digging after I saw them together. Lisa's been feeding information to Holographic Solutions for months. She's the one who told them about your patent situation, Ben. She set up the whole thing. My blood turned to ice. What are you saying? I'm saying you weren't the only one planning revenge. Lisa wanted Val's job, Craig wanted the money, and SSI wanted the technology. They were all working together. That's impossible, Val said. Ben sold the patent himself. I saw the paperwork. Did you verify it? Tasha asked. Did you actually call SSI and confirm the transaction? I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the patent transfer documents Ryder had sent me. Something cold settled in my stomach as I read the fine print. Son of a bitch, I muttered. What? Val leaned over to look at the screen. The sale agreement. It's structured as a licensing deal, not a permanent transfer. HSI gets exclusive rights for 5 years. Then the patent reverts to the original owner. That's good, right? Val asked. You still own it? No. I scrolled down to the signature page. Look at the ownership verification. There it was, in black and white. The patent had been transferred from Benjamin Travers to Travers Tech Solutions 3 days before I sold it to HSI. A transfer I'd never authorized, signed with a digital signature I'd never created. Lisa forged the transfer, I said slowly. She used her HR access to create fake paperwork, then sold my patent to HSI and split the money with Craig. But the FBI arrested Craig for embezzlement, Val protested. Probably a separate crime. These people were running multiple scams. My phone rang again. Ryder knocks. Ben, we have a problem. HSI just called. They want to renegotiate the patent deal. Apparently there are some questions about the ownership documentation. What kind of questions? The kind that suggests someone may have forged your signature on the original transfer to Travers Tech. If that's true, the sale to HSI is invalid, and you could be liable for fraud. I closed my eyes. How much trouble am I in? Potentially a lot. HSI paid $12 million for exclusive rights to technology they can't legally use. They're talking about criminal charges and civil suits. But I didn't forge anything. I believe you, but proving it won't be easy. Digital signatures are hard to trace, and Lisa Fenn has disappeared. No one's seen her since Craig's arrest. I hung up and stared at Val. Your best friend just destroyed both our lives. We have to find her, Val said. Make her confess. Clear your name. How? She could be anywhere. Not anywhere. Val was already reaching for her purse. Lisa's predictable. When she's stressed, she goes to the same place every time. Where? Her mother's cabin on Rangeley Lake. It's where she hides when the world gets too complicated. I looked at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Determination mixed with genuine concern. "Why would you help me?" I asked. "Because despite everything that's happened between us, you didn't deserve this. And because Lisa used me to hurt you, that makes it personal." Val's eyes finally showed what I wanted. Not fear, but fury. We drove north in my pickup truck, following Route 4 through the mountains toward Rangeley. Val navigated while I tried to process the fact that my carefully planned revenge had been hijacked by an even more elaborate scheme. "How long has Lisa been planning this?" I asked. "Months, maybe longer. She's always been jealous of what we built together. The company, the house, the lifestyle. She used to joke about how she could run things better if she had the chance. Some joke. I should have seen it coming. The way she encouraged my relationship with Craig pushed me to be more aggressive about the merger. She was playing puppet master the whole time." The cabin sat on a wooded lot overlooking the lake, isolated and private. Lisa's Honda was parked in the gravel driveway, confirming our hunch. "What's the plan?" Val asked as we pulled up behind the Honda. "We get her to confess, record it, and turn the evidence over to the FBI. And if she won't cooperate?" I thought about the $12 million I didn't actually have, the criminal charges hanging over my head, and the woman who'd orchestrated the destruction of multiple lives for her own profit. "Then we get creative." This time, I was the one holding the keys. Lisa Fenn opened the cabin door wearing yoga pants and a guilty expression. Her perfectly styled hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her usual corporate confidence had been replaced by the hunted look of someone who knew the walls were closing in. "Val," she tried to inject surprise into her voice. "What are you doing here? And Ben, I heard about the patent situation. I'm so sorry." "Are you?" I stepped past her into the cabin without waiting for an invitation. "Sorry about which part? The forgery, the fraud, or the fact that you got caught?" Her face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Cut the act, Lisa." Val followed me inside, her voice sharp with betrayal. "We know about you and Craig. We know about the information you've been feeding to HSI, and we know you forged Ben's signature on the patent transfer." The cabin was small and rustic, all knotty pine walls and stone fireplace. Lisa backed toward the kitchen, her eyes darting between us like a cornered animal. "You're both crazy. I've been nothing but loyal to you, Val. And Ben, I barely know you well enough to commit crimes against you." I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Lisa Fenn, this is your chance to tell the truth about what you've done. The FBI is already investigating Craig's embezzlement. How long do you think it'll take them to connect you to the patent fraud?" "There's no fraud." But her voice cracked on the words. "Really?" Val stepped closer. "Then explain these." She held up her phone, showing the photos Tasha had sent. Lisa and Craig at the motel. Lisa and Craig at a restaurant. Lisa and Craig in what looked like a very intimate conversation outside the HSI building. "You've been sleeping with my boyfriend and conspiring with my company's biggest competitor. That's not loyalty, Lisa. That's treason." Lisa's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of her all at once, leaving behind a tired woman who'd gambled everything on a plan that was falling apart. "You want to know the truth?" She sat down heavily on the couch. "Fine. Yes, I've been working with HSI. Yes, I helped Craig plan the merger. And yes, I forged Ben's signature on the patent transfer." I kept the phone recording. "Why?" "Because I was tired of watching you two waste opportunities while I did all the real work. Val, you're a decent CEO, but you're not visionary. And Ben, you're brilliant, but you have no business sense. Together you were holding back a company that could have been worth hundreds of millions. So you decided to steal it," Val said. "I decided to optimize it. HSI offered me a vice president position and a $5 million signing bonus to deliver your core technology. Craig was supposed to handle the merger and the divorce, keeping you both distracted while I transferred the assets." "What went wrong?" I asked. Lisa laughed bitterly. "You did. You were supposed to be the oblivious husband too buried in your workshop to notice anything. Instead, you turned into some kind of corporate ninja, destroying everything we'd worked for." "You mean everything you'd stolen?" "Semantics." She waved a hand dismissively. "The point is, HSI got spooked when Travers Tech imploded. They started asking questions about the patent ownership, demanding more documentation. When they couldn't verify the transfer, they froze Craig's payment and threatened to expose the whole operation. So Craig panicked and got sloppy with the embezzlement," Val said. "Craig panicked, period. Started making threats, demanding his money, leaving digital fingerprints everywhere. The FBI traced his fake vendor accounts in about 5 minutes. I stopped recording and pocketed the phone. That's a full confession to multiple felonies. You know that, right? Lisa shrugged. Doesn't matter. You can't use that recording in court without my consent, and I'll just deny everything. Maybe. I walked to the cabin's front window and looked out at the lake. But I don't need a court conviction. I just need leverage. What kind of leverage? I turned back to face her. The kind where you fix what you broke, or everyone in our industry learns exactly what Lisa Fenn is capable of. You're threatening me. I'm offering you a choice. Option 1. You contact HSI, confess to the forgery, and arrange to return their $12 million. You also provide testimony that clears me of any criminal liability. And option 2. I release your confession to every tech blog, industry publication, and social media platform I can find. Your career in corporate America ends permanently. Lisa's face flushed red. You can't do that. It would destroy my reputation. Like you destroyed mine? Like you destroyed Val's company? Like you were planning to destroy our marriage? That's different. How? She didn't have an answer. Val stepped forward. There's a third option, Lisa. You can run. Pack up your car, drive to Canada or Mexico, and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Because if you don't fix this, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. What am I, Val? A parasite. Someone who builds nothing, creates nothing, and contributes nothing, except chaos and betrayal. Lisa stared at us for a long moment, weighing her options. Outside, a loon called across the lake, its voice haunting and lonely. Fine, she said finally. I'll call HSI. But I want immunity from prosecution in writing before I confess to anything official. Deal, I said. But the call happens now, with us listening. She retrieved her laptop from the bedroom and placed a video call to HSI's legal department. The conversation took 20 minutes and covered every detail of her scheme with Craig. By